We're talking through the Friday NBA slate. We have no lock on DraftKings. I'm sorry, no subs after lock on DraftKings, and FanDuel is the same as usual. Sheets, what's going on, my man?
Nothing. It's
Just another
just talking about aggregate projections, stuff like that.
Figured I'd let you say it first.
Just dealing with that bunch of nonsense.
A bunch of absolute complete garbage, in my opinion. Nonsense.
Anyway, as far as DraftKings went and NBA last night, I did okay in the lottery, actually. In the fadeaway, I ended up with like a 6th or a 7th for like 2,000 or something.
Oh, nice.
Which carried the day. I ended up with a bunch of those the Mavericks, and then in that particular bunch of lineups, I avoided the Jabari Smith bust, which was a little annoying. I had that in my big buy-in, and I had DeRozan in my big buy-in. That wasn't so great.
Yeah.
So overall, I got lucky to make a little bit of money because of the way the lottery worked out, but the big buy-in was not any good. And Will Zalatoris can go F himself. Anyway, you ready to get after today?
Yeah, I'm a little. I second your Will Zalatoris frustration.
Well, the good thing is it didn't matter whether it was 7,700, 8,700, 9,700.
It's true.
Could have been 4,700. What's the difference?
It's true. All right. What do we have first? Do you have Phoenix and Charlotte or not?
Yes. So we do have Phoenix and Charlotte. Again, we should stress again the difference between DraftKings and FanDuel tonight. DraftKings is no late swap, so you just put your stuff in, and then you're off. Now that doesn't mean you shouldn't consider possible news that could affect the late games, but you just can't do anything about it later. So the first thing I want to look at before we get into this is what type of injury news is threatening here. I see Harden uncertain to play Friday. Okay, so that's something to consider. Hopefully we get that news before lock, or not. Maybe you feel like speculating. You have Cade Cunningham questionable. So are they claiming that this is what happened, that they didn't just sit him for no reason in his last game, that he was actually hurt? That would be an interesting.
I've been saying that they've made it very, very clear that there's going to be many, many games where they just pull him out and don't play him.
Okay.
They were gonna, like, for a while they were threatening the idea, flirting with the idea of keeping him 30 minutes or under for the rest of the season. There's that kind of stuff. So it's just always volatile, always going to be volatile.
And then Bam questionable, but that is an early game. Actually, it's probable, so that's an early game. So hey, knock wood. The only thing that's really pressing is Harden.
Yep.
Because the Detroit game is good. If there is any Cade news, it'll be before lock. So it's a non-stress type of slate. So right. Phoenix, Charlotte. With that said, I don't think I have any of it. I have. I'm looking at my guys rated by points per dollar. I'm looking at them rated a lot of different ways, and I'm trying to force a way that I can see something. All right, so you want to play Durant and Booker just because they have okay point projections? Sure, but I'm probably going to be off of this game.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of love for this either. I think one of all the big three for Phoenix are all fine. Nobody who really stood out enough to where I was going to be relevant for me. If I had to play somebody on the other side, I think Micic would be my favorite. But Micic seems like the most obvious. But I do think that it's not a bad idea to keep taking these Brandon Miller shots. So I actually think Brandon Miller is a really, really good play, a really interesting play at basically no ownership, unless I'm missing. So what did I miss? Is he out? Oh, there he is. Okay. I'm sorry. I was looking at two games. I'm like, I just think these projections are a little bit low on him. And I think you're going to see him have a strong end of the year. It's a bad defensive team in Phoenix. So I think Brandon Miller is like an interesting, tournament dart, but nobody who really jumps out to me. Not my favorite game. All right. Miami, Detroit.
Yep. So as it's been recently, there's been a couple of teams that kind of stand out as good values and good plays. And one of them today is Miami. I'm getting a decent amount of the mid-range though. Duncan Robinson 5,100, Terry Rozier, 6,800. What's his name? Caleb Martin, cheap enough, 4,500. And then even Bam at 8,200. I'm getting a little bit of Butler, but hey, like you said, going back to Detroit, right? That's got to be something. Is he from Detroit or is
No,
he from Chicago?
I don't have any.
Oh, he's from Chicago. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So those are the guys I'm getting from Miami and Detroit. Actually, Jaden Ivey is showing up for some reason. If you have it in you, you could play some Fontecchio coming off of that dud. Sasser 3,700 looks cheap enough. Tough matchup. What about going back to Jalen Duren? Another freaking smack. 61 fantasy points in 28 minutes. Again, not the best matchup for him either. So those Miami guys seem to be very good plays.
Yeah, it's a good matchup for Miami. It's just really like, you know me, I keep playing the Jimmy Butler at like 2% ownership and hit sometimes and miss sometimes as it is like, but it's really weird to see him like projected to be 20% owned ever. Like you just never see it. Like it I don't know. It's bizarre to me. It's a good defense. Like, yes, I understand Detroit's bad defensively. I don't know that necessarily means it's Jimmy Butler night. I wouldn't play. I'm probably not going to end up with Butler as a main piece. I think Bam I'd prefer. I like Jovic probably as the best play in this game just because of the value. But like again, by the end of the day, maybe we're looking at totally different value. And I think Terry Rozier is. I actually think Butler would be third for me, but he's in play. It's just weird to play him at this ownership. And if it goes away, maybe then I'll take some shots. But if he's going to be 20%, no thanks. Sasser as a potential value on the other side, I think that's interesting. And Fontecchio, I think is I love taking him. I think you're going to get huge swings. You can't play Fontecchio and not complain a little. But the difference between him and, as I was saying yesterday about some of these guys, you have these guys like Fontecchio could put up 40, and then you really obviously need him. It's not like he's gonna I feel like his range is like 7 fantasy points to like 40. He has a huge range, but I feel like 40 is very reachable for him. So all of them are in play, but nobody who I would want to prioritize overly. I think Ivy is, I guess would be the closest, but I don't know. I feel like this game is getting a little more steam than I personally want to give it. So I'm a little less interested probably in the field, other than maybe Bam as my overall favorite play in the game.
I'd also like to point out it's not, not the biggest deal in the world, but I happen to have been playing Jalen Duren recently, the last 2 games, and I've had the opportunity to watch some of this because whenever James Wiseman was in the game, I'd be like, okay, get him out, you know what I mean? Because I want Duren to get back in, right? But I have to say that Wiseman's been playing really, really well in the minutes that he's been in there. He's been very active. He's getting a lot of rebounds. He had a couple of blocks the other day. I don't know where value is going to play, but I've made worse plays than Wiseman at 3,900.
That's actually a good call, Sheets. I like that idea. Why not?
And I bring that up as we kind of lead into the next game because I sometimes get these plays confused. Because Orlando, I'm getting a decent, projection on Jonathan Isaac. Okay. And Jonathan Isaac, you look at his last couple of games, they look very similar. 18 minutes, 16 minutes, 19 minutes, 20 minutes, doing just fine. You know what I mean? Like these are perfectly fine numbers for 3,700. So you depending how value shakes out, I think between Wiseman and Isaac, I think you have 2 pretty similar decent plays. And for what I'm looking at, I'm seeing Isaac as being projected, and I'm seeing Wiseman sort of ignored. So I will just throw that out there to you.
I like that.
And aside from that, I really don't have anything from this game at all.
Yep. Wait, that's
Orlando, Toronto. I'm already at Orlando.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I was sorry.
I brought up Isaac.
Because the Wiseman thing, yeah. I think Wendell Carter Jr. is in play, and I think that's something I would definitely consider. It's such a good matchup for them. I feel like we're supposed to have a little more attention paid here, like maybe a fringy Franz play or something like that. But I just feel like this is a great matchup. Toronto just is awful defensively. I like the idea of Carter, and I a little bit like the idea of just the price on Franz. It's a little expensive for Paolo, but I mean, he could certainly get there. I just think it's such a good matchup. I would like to try and get something. I don't have anything that stands out for me on Toronto. I don't think it's the worst idea to play quickly, but probably not going to do it myself. So that's
so the fact that you like Carter means you probably your interest in Isaacs is somewhat tempered.
No, I have some. I just know I know exactly what Isaac is. He's gonna play like he'll. I don't think he's played at more than 20 minutes. I think he's done it one time in the last 4 years.
Probably high teens, I would imagine.
It'll be basically the exact same every game, and it's a good matchup. So I have no problem with Isaac. And I have, they're different plays, but like, different price ranges, obviously, but at huge chalk, I just have a feeling by the end of the day, there's going to be other value that comes up that we haven't even thought of yet, So, but absolutely Isaac as of right now is definitely kind of interesting, but
so last night was Bones Highland season with Harden out. And I imagine if Harden is back in, he'll be right back to the bench. So we'll have to see. I was about to say I imagine that Harden plays, but I have no evidence of that. So I don't. Right now, as is, I don't have too much because I think I'm projecting Harden is in right now. If he's out and Highland is starting again, then I mean, what are you gonna do? You sort of have to play him. He shoots the ball 50 times, right? And then again, he only scored 17 real life points. It's very, very interesting, actually. So maybe he's got other stuff going on. Anyway, we'll have to watch for the news on that. And again, might be one you might. I mean, might have to take a shot, But what's weird is that if you're not sure and you play Highland and he might not. You'd regret it if Harden's playing. Let's put it that way. I think. Or is he a guy that can get there anyway? I wouldn't imagine so, but I don't know. I guess I'll leave that one to you. And then on New Orleans, well, I think this whole game, I struggle to get much of anything in this game.
Yeah, I think by the end of the day, if Harden's out, obviously I don't even think you can't play all three of those, like Highland, Kawhi, and Paul George. I think that they're all in play. And I think you play at least two of them, no matter what. That's the way I'll treat it anyway.
Well, let me ask the same question.
Mm-hmm.
If somehow, if you knew that Harden was playing, could you still play Highland?
No, I mean, okay. If you did, you should have been playing Bones Highland for the last month.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is that so if there's a 50% chance that Harden is playing. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry. Yeah. If we don't know, then I'll definitely take some shots just because of the activity level. Yeah. And there's still a path for him to get there. You know what I mean? It's not impossible. He could put up 20 something.
That's what I'm saying. He's got a 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that. 25.
I wasn't thinking about the non-late swap point of view, but that's a good point. All right, let's get to the next one. Denver, San Antonio.
Currently not getting to Jokic, but I am getting to some of the secondary guys. Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. I'm getting to them. And I'm getting to San Antonio guys right now. I mean, right now I'm not. But I mean, I can obviously be talked into it. I mean, you have any priorities in this game?
I kind of like Jamal Murray. Here, I know that his price is up to 81, but I think that he's interesting. I do like Jokic, but I don't know. You're kind of using fringy value right now to play him. Yeah. And I think Michael Porter. This is the kind of matchup I like to play Michael Porter Jr. in. So very likely one of those three guys makes. If I was playing one lineup, very very likely one of those three makes it. I think the one I would have the most interest in would probably be Murray and then Porter, but. I'm actually surprised that Porter, with not a great projection, but being projected to be owned, just sort of surprised to see that. But I do think this is the kind of game the kind of environment where he could have a ceiling type of game. And it's interesting to see the victor and against Jokic here. I'm kind of curious how this is going to go. but I don't have anything that stands out as a priority for San Antonio. Look, there's never going to be a time where I'm going to say you can't play Wembanyama tonight. He'd have to like literally be the same price as Jokic, basically, for me to say that. And but I don't have it like tonight is obviously not a good situation for him. So I'm pretty much off the San Antonio side as of now.
So this is fun. You have this late night hammer, which is an hour past the last game, and there's no late swap.
And you got revenges. You got revenge of players, revenge of coaches.
You got all kinds of stuff, and the best values on the slate. So so right now, as I'm getting just a ton of Taylor Horton Tucker for openers. I'm getting a bunch of the Keontae George. I'm getting a bunch of the. Am I getting that much Sexton? Yeah, Colin Sexton. Now, I don't know how much out of all three of those together, but all three of those look like really, really strong plays. And then I'm even getting some of the once and future leader of the free world, Bryce Sensabaugh. And then on the Atlanta side, I mean, just be very, very cautious of this Bogdan Q tag illness. Just make sure that that's not resolved one way or the other before lock. But in either case, DeJounte Murray looks like a really, really good play, as does Bruno Fernando for Atlanta. Jalen Johnson, I was sort of questionable, so we have to watch that too. Let's see, questionable for Friday, so we're gonna have to wait and see what kind of news there is before 7 o'clock. But I think in either case, I think DeJounte Murray is strong, and I think Bruno Fernando is strong.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide what I want to do here with the Atlanta side. I'm kind of struggling a little bit with it because you do have the Bogdanovich and the Jalen Johnson questionable. I like this matchup for Jalen Johnson. I don't particularly have a love for Bruno Fernando. I think there's probably going to be better value. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's whatever, backup center, it's
That's
not like,
true.
But DeAndre Hunter, when he's going to be really popular, it kind of worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that DeJounte Murray is my simplest answer to this game of what I know I would prioritize for sure. Everything else I have interest in. I think it would go him, and then assuming that Jalen Johnson's in, that it would be Jalen Johnson next. Right. And then I would probably go Hunter. But Hunter's going to be the one who projects really well. But I don't, look, he certainly has a way of busting. And I also think he has a ceiling too. So I could see going either way on that one. I like him. I just don't love the ownership. I'm going to have a very hard time not playing Keontae George. I'm a big fan of this kid. The only thing I'd say to myself is that, look, he's got a wide range of outcomes, but his upside is absolutely immense. And he looks like he's really getting the keys and going with it now. So I do like him in this matchup. But it's one of those things that it wouldn't shock me if you just saw one of those sort of duddy games, but I would make sure to have one of him or Sexton, potentially the one who I'm sort of interested in that's not projecting well at all. And I want to see who they end up starting tonight. You've got Hendricks questionable. I know he was terrible a couple times recently, but can I get a little John Collins revenge as kind of like a way to get different in this game? I think I might take a weird shot at that one. And then you get the value of Taylor Horton Tucker if you're not going to play George or Sexton. So and even if you are, you could actually play him with one of those guys. But I think you're playing one of Sexton, George, or Horton Tucker almost no matter what. At least I'm going to treat it like that.
I mean, to put another flag in the Keontae George plant, whatever. I mean, I don't know what the 6-minute thing was, whatever, but in these 4 games, I mean, look at these opponents like Boston, Denver, Miami, Orlando, and nothing but good scores, I mean, I'm playing. What to tell you?
You're playing Keontae?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I think that we have. I think we kind of should. And then the Sensabaugh thing, I didn't. I'm still stuck on this one. Okay, that's the one I have the hardest time with. But it is a reasonable price. It's just feels like with Utah, like I always get nervous at some point because I'm like, God, it's like not and 7 guys projecting well, like 11 guys being projected, or 12 guys actually being projected to play. Like, it just makes me a little nervous. That's the only thing. But I do like the George the best. So I'll get my stuff up probably a little later this afternoon, because I'm going to guess we're going to hear something after shoot around. We've got some teams on back-to-back. So I hopefully we'll have a little more clarity, and I'll do my cores and whatever builds I'm doing and all that stuff a little later.
Well, I'll tell you something else. I'll look at the SaberSim build right now.
Yeah.
And this is actually interesting. There's usually this early in the day, like 2 guys that are like 90% owned. They just are, but there aren't this time. You get 60% Taylor Horton Tucker, which is the highest owned. And I'll just say, of an early SaberSim run, that's it means that you're probably going to get some spread out stuff. But we shall see. But then there's Keontae George, there's Jonathan Isaac. I mentioned him. A lot of news is going to depend on what happens in the I was going to say the Harden. If Harden plays, I don't think I'm going to play anything from that game. But like if Harden's out, then we have to play like as many guys as you want from
right
starting with Highland on LA. So this is what the SaberSim build looks like now. And again, we'll be there at 6 to hopefully get some late, some injury news and some starters. And I guess that's about it.
Sounds good. Good luck to everybody today, and we'll see you at 6.
Okay.
Let's get the golf turnaround.
So I'll see you at 1:30.
Yeah, sounds good.